What happens when the GOP nominates a liberal Democrat as its presidential standard bearer? The destruction of the moral compass of conservatism. It is just horrifyingly astonishing to me to watch people that I used to consider to be comrades in arms, in some cases friends, and certainly co-belligerents, you might say, co-partisans, morph into the enemy, morph into what the Democrats are, using the same tactics, the same amorality, the same moral equivalencies, and engaging in the same kind of conduct and tactics that we all on the right used to loathe coming from the Democrats, leading to the maxim that I have been throwing at Trumplicans for quite a while now. You know the one, if you can't beat them, join them. Well, there was that Commander-in-Chief forum yesterday. Trump and Mrs. Clinton were both present at it. And Trump's comments, as Jonah Goldberg writes today at nationalreview.com, on Vladimir Putin and Barack Obama are morally obtuse in a way conservatives used to recognize and criticize and condemn before they decided if you can't beat them, join them. There was a time when one of the worst sins you could commit on the American right was to buy into false moral equivalence. During the Cold War, this usually meant saying that we were no better than the Soviet Union. For example, Democrat Senator William J. Fulbright, Bill Clinton's mentor, said of the Soviet Union in 1971, quote, "Were it not for the fact that they are communists and therefore bad people, while we are Americans and therefore good people, our policies would be nearly indistinguishable," thus confusing tactics with strategy. William F. Buckley famously had the best retort to this kind of myopic asininity. To say that the CIA and the KGB engage in similar practices is the equivalent of saying that the man who pushes an old lady into the path of a hurtling bus is not to be distinguished from the man who pushes an old lady out of the path of a hurtling bus, on the grounds that, after all, in both cases, someone is pushing old ladies around. After the Cold War, the false moral equivalence arguments didn't stop, of course, because the left is still the left. They simply mutated to fit the times. The common thread being America sucks, which seems to be Donald Trump's opinion as well. Figure it out, Trumplicans. The isolated abuses at Abu Ghraib prison in Iraq were expanded into an indictment of America itself. Shamefully, Senator Ted Kennedy declared in 2005, "We now learn that Saddam's torture chambers reopened under new management, U.S. management." Senator Ali Dikbar al-Derbini claimed American policies were indistinguishable from those of the Nazis, the Soviets, and Pol Pot. Or collectively, according to Trumplicans, Hillary Clinton. Amnesty International dubbed the prison at Guantanamo Bay the gulag of our time. Pity all gulags don't have such high-end amenities. The problem with this sort of rhetoric should be obvious. However bad Abu Ghraib, well, the problem is it's insane. It's ludicrously counterfactual. However bad Abu Ghraib or Guantanamo Bay may be in your eyes, logic and facts cannot make them the moral equivalents of genocidal mass slaughter. In Saddam's Iraq, Nazi Germany, Pol Pot's Cambodia, or the Soviet Union, or Red China for that matter. Nor is locking up terrorists and enemy combatants anything like imprisonment or summary execution of dissidents, intellectuals, and other civilians. Last year, Barack Hussein Obama went for a personal best in the worst moral equivalence Olympics. You remember this. At a national prayer breakfast, I know, well, to whom was he praying? Himself, is most likely answer. He argued that those who condemn the tactics of the Islamic State, the beheadings, the slavery, the mass rapes, burying people alive, and so forth, must understand that Christians did some very bad things too 10 centuries ago during the Crusades. So let's not get on our high horse about all that. Conservatives, including yours truly, ran to their respective rhetorical garages to get as many brickbats, crowbars, and sledgehammers as necessary to demolish that specious nonsense. So it's interesting to see how ex-conservatives have been responding to the Republican nominee's own adventures in moral equivalence. Last December, in an interview with MSNBC's Joe Scarborough, Donald Trump was asked about his sometimes lavish praise of Vladimir Putin. Scarborough noted that Putin kills journalists, political opponents, and invades countries. Obviously, that would be a concern, would it not? I mean, it was a lifeline. It was a cream puff right over the plate. Hit it out of the park, for crying out loud. No, Trump gotta be Trump. So Trump replied, he's running his country, and at least he's a leader, unlike what we have in this country. So leadership is killing journalists and political opponents and invading other countries. That's how Donald Trump defines leadership. Sure. Yeah, that's right. That's facing right way. Scarborough persisted. But again, he kills journalists that don't agree with him. He's trying to say, here, take the lifeline. Take the lifeline, Donald. Come on. Work with me here. But Trump gotta be Trump, so he answered, I think our country does plenty of killing also, Joe, so you know. And he got the Republican nomination. Aren't you proud of yourselves, Trumplicans? More than 9 months later, a suitable period to rethink one's absurd and ridiculous position, but then Trump has so many of them. Trump was asked again about his so-called, well, it's not so-called, he was asked again about his bromance with the Russian dictator. In a Commander-in-Chief forum, NBC's Matt Lauer confronted Trump with some of his past quotes about Putin, including Trump's claim that in terms of leadership, he's getting an A. Our president is not doing so well. When Lauer ran through just a few of Putin's offenses, including his involvement in the hacking of the Democrat Party's computers, which remember, Trump encouraged. Trump asked the Russians to do that publicly. Trump responded, well, nobody knows that for a fact, but do you want me to start naming some of the things that Barack Obama does at the same time? You know, I take a back seat to no one as a critic of Barack Hussein Obama. Read what I've written on my blogs, including Political Pistachio, the preceding 3 years. Listen to my podcasts going back to May of 2007. Listen to me on the American Daily Review podcast going back to July of 2009. Constitution Radio going back to August of 2011. I have a large body of work that proves that I don't take a back seat to anyone as a critic of Barack Obama either. But this is repugnant. Barack Obama has done terrible, foolish, deplorable things as president. But all of his transgressions are measured against the standards of the constitutional system he destroyed and our political culture, which is not far behind. For instance, in 2009, the Obama Injustice, Revenge, and Coverup Commissariat outrageously monitored the phone calls and emails of Fox News reporter James Rosen. In order to get the warrants, they hilariously named Rosen a criminal co-conspirator of one of his sources. That's really bad. It's tyrannical. It's corrupt. But it's not in the same category. It is not the moral equivalent of having Rosen gunned down in the street. Which, if Trump did it, his supporters would cheer him. Ah, take that! Take that, media! Trump said it himself, remember? If I could go and shoot somebody in the head right on Fifth Avenue here, and my supporters would love me for it. He actually said that. Remember, Trumplicans? Aren't you proud? That Donald Trump cannot see such distinctions is no longer shocking. That many of his supporters can't either grows less shocking by the day, which just goes to prove, once again, two things. One, they are no longer conservatives, and two, they're losers.